Thank you. And just for you, Director Clapper, again on the surveillance front, and I hope we can do this in just a yes or no answer because I know Senator Feinstein wants to move on. Last summer, the NSA director was at a conference, and he was asked a question about the NSA surveillance of Americans. He replied, and I quote here, "The story that we have millions or hundreds of millions of dossiers on people is completely false." The reason I'm asking the question is, having served on the committee now for a dozen years, I don't really know what a dossier is in this context. So what I wanted to see is if you could give me a yes or no answer to the question, does the NSA collect any type of data at all on millions or hundreds of millions of Americans?
No, sir.
It does not.
Not wittingly. There are cases where they could inadvertently, perhaps, collect, but not wittingly.
The U.S. military is planning an unprecedented training exercise this summer called Operation Jade Helm 15 across 7 states. And with polls showing trust in the government near record lows, that exercise has some Americans feeling uneasy. Jennifer Wishon brings us that story.
Have you heard of this military special operations command exercise called Jade Helm?
Speculation about why the military wants to train in American communities instead of military bases is fueling a growing number of theories across the internet and social media.
The government will take action when it thinks its authority is threatened.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott has even asked his National Guard to monitor it. So what is Jade Helm 15? It's realistic military training taking place simultaneously in 7 states, from Southern California to Texas. Over 8 weeks, the nation's elite special forces will practice unconventional warfare by operating outside their normal support systems, adapting to new terrain, and working with civilians to gain their trust. When news of the operation broke, the phones inside Texas Congressman Louis Gohmert's office lit up.
At first, people were not sure what to think. Do we have to worry about martial law? Is our federal government coming in and going to practice imposing martial law on Texas?
A former Army captain, Gohmert says he understands the need for training, yet it bothers him that as part of the exercise, the military is labeling Texas, Utah, and Southern California as hostile.
This is actually taking areas of our home country, the United States, and saying, Texas is hostile, Utah is hostile, Southern California is hostile, and we got to take it back from the hostiles. I find that incredibly offensive.
And he thinks it's no coincidence that the Jade Helm 15 map looks an awful lot like the 2012 political map. So-called hostile states are colored red. The suspicion surrounding Jade Helm 15 is fueled by the fact that a vast majority of Americans simply don't trust the government, a level of mistrust that has peaked under the Obama administration, driven by what many believe to be violations of the Constitution and civil liberties. This is what Americans understand war looks like, but Cheryl Chumley, author of Police State USA, says Jade Helm 15 is introducing a new type of warfare, the master of the human domain.
What's going to happen is the special operations soldiers are going to be dressed in civilian clothes, driving civilian vehicles, and they're going to be tasked with striking up rapport with the local citizens.
It's a new strategy to root out terrorists since locals notice odd behavior first. In Jade Helm, citizens are part of the exercise.
Watch out, because that guy that strikes up a conversation with you at the local 7-Eleven, is he a Jade Helm 15 participant? You know, it's a psychological warfare that it kind of messes with your mind a little bit.
White House spokesman Josh Earnest says special forces moving about communities will wear armbands.
I feel confident in expressing to you, without having a lot of detailed knowledge of the particular exercise, is that the civil liberties and constitutional rights of American citizens will be in no way affected by this exercise.
Despite conspiracy theories, Congressman Gohmert isn't worried that the U.S. military is going to issue martial law, but he's not happy with the president.
When my own commander-in-chief, through his subordinates, is just fine with, for games purposes, declaring an enemy of 2 or more of your states, I've got a real problem with that. That is one of the most insensitive, just outrageous things that a military commander could do.
Chumley urges Americans to always stay vigilant when it comes to the government.
What I love most about America is that our rights come from God, not government. And I think we need to hold fast to that principle, because once that's gone, then you just open the doors to more and more government.
One, Jade Helm truly is just a training exercise to prepare Army Special Operations Forces for future operations overseas. That's all we want to do. We want to make our guys sweat hard in peacetime so they bleed less in combat.
I just can't believe that they're operating on such a scale amongst the citizens and using psychological operations, psychological warfare, intelligence gathering data on the American citizens. And the fact that they want to go around and they're gathering intelligence. That's what they're doing, and they're moving logistics in place for martial law. That's my feeling. That's my feeling. Now, could be wrong. I hope I am wrong. I hope I'm a conspiracy theorist. But when you ask questions like that, they don't want to hear questions. They're there to tell you one side.
It really comes down to two things, inaccurate information and misinformation. The inaccurate information is being spread accidentally. The misinformation, there's a personal agenda associated with the misinformation. People want Jade Helm, training exercise Jade Helm, to truly be something that it's not. And they want it desperately, and they believe it desperately. And it's just not going to be that way. And when Jade Helm is over and everybody moves back along and we go back to North Carolina, everybody's going to realize it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It truly was to prepare Army Special Operations Forces for future operations overseas.
I think around 2008, the Bush administration kind of classifying some right-wing extremists like gun owners and conservatives, Bible thumpers, you know, that kind of thing, and as kind of potential terrorist threats. And so when I think about that, that's like everyone in Bastrop County is probably a potential terrorist threat. So, you know, you just kind of wonder, like, a big military buildup here, like, is that training to get people more conditioned to a military presence?
A training exercise lasting for 2 months across 7 states called Jade Helm 15 is underway. A large concentration of troops spread out across Texas, including Camp Bullis in San Antonio and in Bastrop. Our David Sears went to the Central Texas town and talked with residents who welcome the troops and those who fear their presence.
At 5 o'clock this morning, go to full static, and only for a period of time on, July 15th, on the day they're rolling in. Okay, they're here.
For Bastrop resident Michael Holmes, that radio static and the arrival of the Army can only mean one thing: the beginning of the end, because Special Forces troops have come to town to train on private land till September. Operation Jade Helm 15 is underway.
Regardless, everything's going to fall to hell, in a handbasket, and everybody's going to suffer.
Holmes believes the government is targeting certain people, and he is one to be, in his words, eliminated. When you say take out, when you say eliminate, do you mean kill?
Yeah, eliminate. That in military, eliminate means kill.
Most residents don't carry that same concern.
No, we have not seen any mass panic or protests or anything like that.
Gun shop owner Troy Mahalik said when it was first announced that the troops were coming, a lot of people were excited, and there has not been a rush on guns or ammo, but it doesn't hurt to pay attention.
I have questions too. I don't believe this is some sinister plot to start martial law or come take our guns, but that doesn't at the same time mean that we shouldn't be vigilant and kind of watch what's going on.
I hope I'm wrong. And hallelujah.
Hey, Stephen Ursula, we did find something very interesting here in Bastrop earlier today. This is actually video of a Humvee rolling down the streets of Bastrop. We followed these guys to the Jack in the Box. It was lunchtime, and they were hungry. So we asked them on the way in if they were a part of this Jade Helm 15. They said no, but they had heard about it, and they were ready. Take that for what it's worth. We are live in Bastrop. David Sears, KSAT 12.